Hey everyone, and welcome back to the worst channel on YouTube. I'm Matt, and I run this channel. This is my series on Centrism, which is my interpretation of Buddhism, and today I'm going to go into the practical application of anatta, which we talked about last time. This practice is meditation. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and leave me a comment below with your thoughts. But with that said, let's just get into it. So, the first and main type of meditation is breath meditation, usually called either Zazen, which is Japanese, or Anapanasati, which is a Pali word, which is the language the Buddha initially spoke. It's extremely simple to learn. Sit and breathe. Literally, that's it. What you do is you focus on your breath and try not to let your attention wander from it. Whenever a thought arises, don't judge yourself for it or try to force it away. Simply return your attention to your breath. If you start to fall asleep, simply recognize this and wake yourself back up to focus on your breath. The key is to just keep focusing your attention and awareness on your breath without judgment, thoughts, or anything else, but merely to be aware of your breath. This helps us to find our true nature, the nature of simple awareness, and to loosen our attachments to the temporary things that make up who we are. Every other type of meditation honestly stems from this simple starting one, but they are all meant to cultivate certain things within us. They are about actively changing our minds. For example, there's a type of meditation known as Metabolome, or loving kindness meditation. The purpose of this one is to strengthen our compassionate feelings and destroy negative feelings, and it's useful for people who have anger problems or just aren't very compassionate in general. The method is the same as in breath meditation, but instead of focusing on your breath, you focus on thoughts of loving kindness, such as images of gift giving or charity, or just thinking loving thoughts about other people. If your mind wanders from these thoughts, gently return them back and keep on repeating. Other forms of meditation become slightly more advanced, such as ones where the eyes are open. In these, one will keep their focus on an object or symbol in front of themselves, with the object often being something representing a quality we wish in ourselves or wish was not part of ourselves. For example, some people will meditate, as disturbing as it may sound, on dead bodies. Some monks will go to graveyards and meditate and stare at open graves because they wish to lessen their fear of death, because even monks can be afraid of death. Or some people may meditate on a candle. People do this because the candle represents slow burning wisdom, brightness, and light, and they want to bring that more into their mental awareness. But one thing to keep in mind is no matter what object you pick to meditate on, just know that you may start to absorb some qualities from it unconsciously. So I wouldn't make it anything overly negative or problematic. I also wouldn't make it anything too obvious, because that can also distract you from actually focusing on it. No matter what form of meditation, however, the practice is always the same. Move your awareness to this thing, the thing that you're trying to concentrate on, and try to maintain your awareness on it without being forceful. Anyone can practice them, and all forms of meditation find their roots in anatta, the idea that we are merely awareness, and that's what we are trying to cultivate, is our awareness. But I hear you saying, what about special postures, sitting in the lotus positions, counting breaths, using meditation beads, and everything else I've seen and heard of? Well, all of those other things are very easy to explain. They were all invented by other fallible human beings to aid in concentration. For example, sitting on the floor with the back perfectly straight is not a relaxed position, and so it requires active participation to maintain, which aids in keeping the meditator awake and aware of the breath. And those who believe in chakras also think that this position keeps chakras aligned, although personally I don't believe this. I've never really seen any evidence that chakras are real, but I have an open mind. This is just one example of a tool that was invented to help people meditate, but there are many others. For example, meditation beads help us to keep track of how many breaths we have taken for some type of time measurement, because we may not want to have a clock nearby, but we can only meditate for so long. Meditation pillows are also just for comfort or balance. They aren't holy or sacred, and you don't need to get a special one. You could just as easily meditate on a Winnie the Pooh beach towel, or, a book, whatever you want to sit on, or even just your chair. It doesn't actually matter. The thing to keep in mind is that none of these external forms, such as being able to sit in a full lotus posture, or keep your back perfectly straight for 10 hours at a time, or have 25 different types of meditation beads, all for different purposes. None of these have any substance to them. Just like we are empty, we are anatta, we are not self. It's the same thing with all of these other forms. Using a special meditation pillow is not going to help your practice at all if you aren't actually trying to practice meditation properly. Laying on your bed and meditating, as long as you don't fall asleep, is also not a problem, because if you're able to maintain awareness, that's what the point is. Some people even meditate while they're walking. They just walk around in a circle and try and keep their attention focused on maybe a spot on the ground. The whole point of meditation is to cultivate awareness and to actively change your mind. So you may be changing your mind just to be more aware. That's the most standard form of meditation. Or you may be trying to incorporate a certain quality, such as with loving kindness meditation. But the form that it takes is really secondary, and these forms were invented just to help people maintain their concentration. So if they help for you, that's great, but they aren't necessary. So therefore, if they don't work for you, they can be easily discarded. And if other people tell you, oh, well, you're not practicing right, just know that they're more trapped up in the form of how to do it rather than the outcome. As I said before, meditation is the active application of the concept of anatta in helping us to detach from temporary forms and ideas to connect with the pure awareness that is what we are. I know that this is a very high and mighty philosophical sounding thing, and to some it may even sound like I'm just speaking off the top of my head some sort of high and mighty mumbo jumbo, and if it does, that's fine. You don't need to understand this or even buy into it to get meditation. All you need to do is work on focusing your awareness. So let's talk about this for a moment. When it comes to sacredness and specific rituals, these can be very important to people. The fact that they have no real form doesn't diminish their importance. It simply means that they are subject to the laws of anatta, just like everything else is. That is to say that they will change over time and have no fixed form. Sacred things and rituals change over time, just like everything else. Therefore, to cling to these specific forms and ideas is actually against the point of meditation, to let go of attachments. Long story short, if you're like me and you find sitting on the floor to be very painful and uncomfortable, so you aren't able to focus or anything other than the pain in your hips, ditch the posture. Who cares if you can achieve full lotus posture or have to meditate on a pillow or use special beads? Who cares if you meditate that way? It really doesn't matter. The only reason these things exist is to aid in the practice. So if they aren't an aid to you, just discard them. Now, with that said, to some people, these forms can be sacred. They can be ritualized. They can help in spiritual practice. And so, there's no reason to discard them if they bring ultimate happiness or help with your concentration. But the point is that they aren't mandatory, they aren't required, and they aren't part of meditation. They're simply there to help with meditation. Now, I've gotten the question from some people, is meditation the Buddhist equivalent of prayer? In many ways, it really isn't, because we aren't communicating with a divine being, but to some it is, because it's a ritualized action meant to bring about change. But in reality, meditation shouldn't be like prayer, because Prayer is a ritualized action, as I just said, and meditation really shouldn't be ritualized, as I was just talking about, because rituals are also subject to anatta. The gods can't help anyone become enlightened, as it is only you who can help yourself towards that goal. But with that said, prayer can be comforting at times, but meditation is more important. And, as a side note, in some traditions, most notably Tibetan Buddhism, meditation on a particular god is commonly done. So that's meditation in a nutshell. The idea is to work to cultivate awareness and to work to diminish the other things that make us up. In addition to cultivating awareness, different forms can help us cultivate other things as well, such as loving kindness, or just mere concentration, etc. So, that was my introductory primer to meditation. If anyone's interested in, a more in-depth explanation, I can go there too, but I thought this would be an interesting little, introduction. So, thank you so much for watching, and as always, this is the worst channel on YouTube, so please consider subscribing for more terrible content.